All right. Let me set this up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zach's Corner. Whoop-de-doo. Here we are. And here's the deal. It is Halloweekend. I am very excited to be hanging out with all one of you. It is my great pleasure to be starting my Livestream Hangouts with y'all. I've got a lot of things that I just want to talk about, and I'm going to be recording this and sending it out again. This is a new project that I'm trying to fold into my stuff. If you don't already know, I am a musical comedian. I make YouTube videos. I also make music for a live show. I do covers, and I also might be writing a book in the near future. But more on that later. Right now, this is just kind of my time to hang out with you because, quarantine, and we could all use a little bit of mind filler. It's like a podcast, but we can look at each other, or you can look at me, and I can look at you and tell you everything's going to be okay. Maybe. But yeah, so strap in. This is going to be an hour of hanging out, which I'm not terrified at all about. But we're just going to talk about a lot. I kind of made a list of things here. I might play little tunes, tell you about what's going on in life and my projects. And we're going to, if you jump in the chat at some point, I could definitely respond to anything that you have to say as far as concerns, comments, requests. I do have some instruments with me. They're not hooked up, though. So good luck. I will maybe do some music if you are so inclined. But first thing on the list of things to talk about is it's Halloweekend, which is crazy because remember when we thought that COVID was going to be done like in the middle of summer, and now it's almost November and we're stuck in this world. I didn't expect to be where I am. I know you didn't expect to be where you are, and hopefully everyone's doing okay. I mean, what can you say? I remember 6 months ago that I thought I was going to be doing another one-man show, which I still will be doing eventually when everything opens up. But I don't know. I have no idea when that will happen, and that's okay. So I've been doing this stuff. But it's Halloweekend. It's COVID times. Means maybe you're not going out. Maybe you're wearing your mask underneath your mask. And you want to just come up with ways to be a little bit more Halloweird. And maybe you work on something a little bit different this year. I'm talking about Wicca, which is one of the many things that's come out of the tradition that eventually birthed Halloween. Something I care about a lot. I researched it a lot when I was little, and especially when I got into college and started looking at comparative religions. But Wicca, also known as Western shamanism, is at least in its American form, a kind of earth-based religion or really faith that people kind of come together and enjoy in a more individual way. But it's part of Halloween, so I wanted to kind of address some things first. One, I do have experience doing some of the meditations and practices of Wicca. That's not the same as witchcraft, and I don't want you to feel like I know what I'm talking about. I've practiced it on my own using this wonderful book, which I have with me. And if you are interested more in Wicca and witchcraft, you can read Thea Sabin's Wicca for Beginners. I will be reading a little bit of it, a little bit of a chapter about Halloween and what you can do to kind of practice a little bit more faith within your Halloween weekend here. You're stuck alone at home. Maybe you got some tarot cards. Maybe you're lighting candles. You're carving a pumpkin, and this might give you a little bit more insight into how you can get a little spiritual. But yeah, disclaimer, I don't have a huge wealth of knowledge about this, but if you're into astrology, if you're into spirit work, energy work, any sort of thing like that, this could be a helpful introduction into that world as far as Halloween goes. So I'm going to read the chapter on Halloween here, or there's really just a little section, and I'll just read it out loud. Let me find it here, my friends. This book has all it's one of, the reason I'm bringing it up about Halloween is because there is a holy day in the paganism tradition called Samhain, which is synonymous with Halloween, as we now think of it. And this is how Thea writes about it. So, most Wiccans refer to Halloween as Samhain, is what it looks like, but it's pronounced Samhain. And there was this crazy idea proposed by a 19th century folklorist and picked up by several authors since that Samhain, or Samhain, as some may know it, is actually the name of the Celtic god of the dead. And some fundamentalist Christians, particularly the makers of Christian comic tracts who equate God of the dead with Satan, perpetuate this argument. However, she goes on to say the word Samhain is really Irish for November, so nothing fancy or occult about it. We can debunk that hopefully here, but if you jump in the comments and you have something else to say about it, that is fine with me. So many Wiccans will tell you that Samhain is their favorite holiday, if only because they can walk among normal people without sticking out quite as much as they do the rest of the year. On Samhain, Wiccans believe that the other world is close at hand, or so the beloved dead, and the not-so-beloved ones too, can cross over to visit the living. Some Wiccans think of Samhain as the Wiccan New Year, and some think of it as the third and final harvest. A little bit of background, if you kind of break up the year into quarters, you'll kind of see where some pagan traditions that were then adopted into some more Judeo-Christian ideas kind of lay. For instance, Yule and Christmas. You also have things like Halloween and Samhain. You got the summer solstice and the equinox. These harvest moons, that's an idea that's from paganism as well. And that's all to say that kind of clocking in at the same interval of when the seasons change, there's usually some big event marking that. And there's a bigger narrative if you're more interested in it. But I will continue on. So in older days, Samhain was the time in the northern hemisphere when weaker animals were culled from a herd and killed, both to feed people during the winter and also so that feed could be conserved and used for the strongest animals. This is one of the reasons this holiday has such an association with blood and death. Blood, of course, represents the line of ancestry, and Wiccans welcome the return of their dead on Samhain. Many Wiccans create ancestor altars and rituals to encourage the spirits of their loved ones to return. Some prepare plates of food to leave out for the dead, and others conduct dumb suppers, which are meals held entirely in silence, with a chair and a plate of food set at the table for the dead. If this sounds familiar, maybe you're familiar with the iconography that comes from the Day of the Dead, the holy day in some Spanish countries, especially Mexico. I know it's not super prevalent in our communities in America, but I know there certainly are a bunch of people who celebrate that, and this is a similar experience for people. It's essentially just creating time to commune with those who have passed and recognize them. I mean, you've seen Coco, right? This is another one of those nights when the Fae are said to change residence. That's the fairies. Many Samhain stories about the Fae center around the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt is a procession of fairies through the sky, accompanied by the dead, those humans stuck in the land of the Fae, and other spectral beings, ghosts and whatnot, all riding on animals. Some Wiccans believe that the Fae are simply witches on the other side. The Wild Hunt is led by the god in some stories, and sometimes by the goddess. And if you know anything about pagan rituals in Wicca, there's the idea of the masculine god, the feminine goddess, and how they're in communion with each other. And it's a pretty interesting read. As I mentioned before, one of the aspects of the Wiccan god is the Lord of the Dead, so it seems fitting that he would lead the hunt. As the Lord of the Dead, the god resides in the underworld, waiting to receive the souls of the dead and ready them for rebirth. That's a common trope within the pagan narrative that says, everything dies just as the earth kind of closes off in the winter, and then it is reborn again. And that's the idea of the baby new year, father time, and that sort of idea that there is a renewal at the end of the year. And as the Lord of the Dead, the god resides in the underworld, waiting to receive the souls of the dead and ready them for rebirth. The goddess is bereft of the god at this time, but she is also pregnant with the future god, and this is the idea that the mother goddess rebirths a new god, and the cycle continues. Wiccans believe that the goddess is in her crone or wise woman phase at Samhain. The energy of this Sabbat is turned inward, and during this time, Wiccans enter a more reflective part of the year, where they rest and wait for the rebirth of the god at Yule, or similar to Christmas, or the New Year, and later the spark of life at Imbolc, which is a January experience, I believe, February, if I remember, I'm not sure. Check me. Since, as Wiccans are fond of saying on Samhain, the veil between the worlds is thin, it is a great time for divination. Although the association with Halloween and divination has been around for centuries, it grew considerably during the Victorian era when young women in particular would use various methods to try to determine whom they would marry. They would peel an apple in one piece and throw the peel over their shoulder, looking for the loved one's initials to be spelled out in it, or roast chestnuts over a fire, giving each one the name of a suitor and then seeing which one popped first. Most Wiccans don't do these things, but they do whip out the tarot cards or the astrology charts around this time. And if it is the Wiccan New Year, it's a good time to look ahead. Most Wiccans embrace the secular trappings of Halloween as much as everyone else. The costumes, the parties, the pumpkins, the sweets, the love of a good scare. I'll admit, having quite a affinity for this practice, I do also engage in the costumes. Others celebrate the witch as a symbol. Some Wiccans are offended by the image of the green-faced, pointy-hatted witch that flies on her broom by this time of year, but others celebrate her as a symbol of the survival of pagan tradition and feminine power. The green face represents, among other things, fertility, not seasickness, as does the broom, and some see the pointy hat as a symbol of power. So take that as you will. Generally, when I was in college and I was more annoying than I am now, I would tell people that it was not very nice of them, the things that they were doing, but I have turned the page on that. Samhain and its opposite Sabbat, Beltane, which is the 6-month inverse, form the polarity of sex and death, and the beginning and end of life. At Beltane in the British Isles, people would drive their cattle between two bonfires to enhance their fertility. At Samhain, some of these cattle were slaughtered for the winter, and at Beltane, the god and goddess unite. At Samhain, they are separated, and Samhain has a serious solemn element to it because of that. But it is also a joyful time of games and memories and reunions with those who have gone before. So there's a little 2 levels to that. And if you are, a practicing Wiccan and you want to know how you might include decorations this year for your altar, consider pumpkins, divination tools, such as a scrying mirror or tarot cards, apples, fall leaves, or skeletons. That is all to say that there is a beautifully rich and earth-based faith surrounding Wicca and Halloween and these pagan traditions that have lived on under the guise of many names. And I implore people just to take note of that this year. I think we can all use a little bit of more love and self-awareness at this time, and this is one of those practices that could be like yoga in a way that it's meditative and self-affirming. And it's certainly more interesting than eating candy, in my opinion. But I'll leave that to the anti-capitalists to concern themselves with how Halloween has been taken over by candy corporations. Okay. Let me just check, because I am getting huge buffering problems that I can't see myself. I'm just going to check out. If you can jump in the chat and tell me if you can see me well, that would be very, very good of you. Otherwise, I'm just going to twiddle my thumbs a little bit and text my friends who might be watching. I'm also concerned because right now I left a chili cooking. Yes, yes, I did. I told my partner how to make it, but I had agreed that I would do it, and I didn't manage my time well. And that transitions well into my next topic, which is something I've been reading concerning the second shift. So, if you haven't heard of the second shift, it's this. It's definitely made its waves through feminist theory, but the idea that yes, I am making chili. My experience with second shift here is basically, as I understand it. I'm sure I will speak unintelligently about it because I've only read a little bit about it and I'm working on it myself. But from the specifically male perspective, it's observing and understanding that women have been asked to do a lot of unpaid labor that is domestic labor, and historically been have made moves to ask for pay so that others would see that work as actual work. And often the second shift is this invisible work that women have been asked to do traditionally, where a man goes and works and comes back and kind of relieves himself of his daily work. And the woman is still managing all of these other things, especially in today's age where women and non-male folks, have been successfully making careers individually of themselves, and then have to come back and struggle with this second layer of childcare and cooking and cleanliness, all these things that I think, as myself, I can only really speak for myself, so I try not to make generalizations here. As a man, I have taken for granted, and I know that my partner and my mom are watching this, so I'm trying not to say anything dumb. But to share a little bit more about that experience, it's certainly worthwhile to consider with your partner this idea that perhaps you have been taking their efforts for granted because that's all we have been told to do. Or rather, even taken as the way life works. Again, I'm not super specific here, but I can say that just reclaiming as a dude the idea that I'm going to do the shopping for both of us at times, or I'm going to plan how we eat and what we eat and be responsible for that and manage as a co-manager the weight of domesticity rather than being a tool for my partner. For instance, there's two ways you could operate on a given day where I go to work. Do I even work? But I go to work and then I come back and my partner has made all these plans for dinner and whatnot, and I say, okay, great. How can I be used, right? What do you need me to do? And that's one way of trying to participate. But ultimately, that leaves me as an employee of the managerial head of household, the feminine head of household. And ultimately, that's just not the same as being a partner, right? I think ultimately it's better served if I approach the task of being like, how are we going to do all these small things that get in the way of having a clean house and healthy children and healthy bodies, and say, okay, if I sat down in a company and we ran our lives like a team, I wouldn't solely put all of that managerial work on my partner. I would say, these are the tasks I'm taking, these are the tasks you're taking, and if they overlap, we can work together and communicate. Communication, step number one. And hopefully make some strides that takes the weight off of both of us, and we still get to recuperate at the end of the day. Because as women historically become more independent and also part of the world that we're living in, it seems unfair as a dude to continue on simply the same way and then leave all those traditional aspects of living to the same structure, right? Like, if women want to work, that does take a little bit of sacrifice from me to say, you know what, now when I go home, I understand that you are doing the same work as me, which means we're a team. We got to work together, communicate, figure out how we can make everything work in a way that's balanced, rather than expecting the traditional and also allowing the traditionally disenfranchised to try to explore a career. I just don't think that's fair, and I think it's a little short-sighted in today's age to say that just asking to be helpful is enough. Of course, saying in my own personal life, I've definitely not been great at it. I'm barely learning, or I'm improving. I'm a little hard on myself, I think, but the struggle is real, and it will continue to be a struggle until I can get to a habit of managing those things that are important to my partner just as much as the things that are important to me that she manages, and that's partnership. Then that's also something we're going to talk about as far as you'll see a running through line of my ideas about love and what it means to be in a partnership. I think if you want to keep listening to me and understand what I'm talking about, you really should. I talk about this book all the time, but it's All About Love by Bell Hooks, and it's just got the most practical interpretation of what it means to love. We've definitely got tons of ideas about what love is. Love languages, the love stories, the Myers-Briggs, astrology, like all these things that are trying to tell us how to communicate with each other, when really we just don't know what we're communicating about, right? When you choose love, when you choose a partnership that says, I will give what's best for your spiritual, emotional, and physical health without compromising my own, that's not just a one-way street. You have to be communicative. It's the basis of a partnership, and you have to be willing to be on the same team as someone else. I struggle a lot. At least I used to struggle, because it feels like I just want to give 100% of myself in one direction, and that's really not what a partnership is. Like, you're not giving all of yourself to a person, and you shouldn't expect all of them to be given to you. You should both show up 100% and then go from there. But that's not everybody's cup of tea. It's hard. It takes growth, and we certainly have been inundated with everything from the Victorian era. Gosh, can't say that word. This idea of romantic love, and then the love is just a contract. The idea that marriage is just about inheritance, and then romantic love in the reality TV sense that we get today, and all the narratives we read. Like, truly, I don't think we're all talking about the same thing. Like, it takes work for us to get to the same place about what it even means to be in a loving partnership. And I keep using the word partnership instead of relationship, because we're all in relationships with each other. But a partnership is when you choose the other person. So I'll be clear about that here. All I'm saying is, read that book. We'll come back to more things like this. I running out of brain space. But figuring it out. Okay. I'm moving on to the next topic here. Thank you, everyone, in the comments for being supportive. I hope people get to watch this and enjoy it. I want to talk about what? What do I want to talk about? Oh, lighthearted stuff. If you're interested in hanging out with me for the reasons of like my acting career, Gabriel's Inferno, the trilogy or quadrilogy, is still coming, and I'm very excited to be a part of it with being Aaron, and I hang out with Julia, who plays my fiance. She plays Rachel, and she's working on a little short film that we might be making, so you should check that out sometime soon. I don't know if she'd want me to promote it, but I'm helping make it, so now you know about it. But that's been a really fun experience. It's a really cool platform, Passionflix, and I think you should really check it out. I especially in quarantine, if you're feeling a little loveless, perhaps passion is what you need. And if you're into my stuff as music, my musical comedy, my musical theater stuff, I think you will be happy to know that I'm coming back to YouTube making more comedy videos and covers. I'm also working on a new platform called Sessions Live, which you can download an app and then see me on your phone or on your desktop at certain times. If you follow me, you'll get all my spontaneous concerts I do, and then I will also be scheduling some more musical comedy hangouts like this, where we'll take a look at my bookcase, which we will also do here, because we're hanging out, and this will kind of be a monthly thing where I'm just going to talk about stuff that I've read and concerns in the political realm. and just culture in general. I think I might have some good ideas about stuff, and I might have horrible ideas, but if I put it on the internet, someone will finally tell me. I have been stuck alone for too long. Also, this is filling in for all those game nights that I've missed. People can check in with me, I can check in with you, and hopefully all my friends around the world will be able to get something good out of this. So that's what's coming up. I'm also working on a book. It's called Broke, Frustrated, and Anxious, and it's all about trying to make life in this new world in art and possibly kind of change this landscape that we're living in regarding how to make art and not get crushed by all the stuff happening around us. It's really kind of a big ask of myself, but I'm going to be doing interviews with lots of interesting artists, some who will have made money and some who have not, but all of them should be happy, hopefully, because it's really about trying to help people find their mission in life and then build a financial landscape that works for them. We don't have to keep doing all the things that we've been doing before in order to make lives. I'm sitting in front of a camera, in front of a ring light in the middle of my New York apartment, and you're watching, so that's something. I mean, Patreon exists, Sessions Live exists, Twitch exists, all these options for creating exist, and if we invest in them, we can push past, hopefully if we do it quick enough, we won't get stuck in the same thing of standing in front of Pearl Studios. All my actor friends out there will understand. We don't need to get up at 3 a.m. to bust. We're busting our butts to get out there, and then if you're not equity or all this other stuff where it's like you're not getting seen and you're just waiting for your moment, we can stop waiting for moments and start making them. So that's what the book's about. The book is going to be about taking all this anxiety we have about where do we go to school, how much debt do I have, where do I make my money, how do I get seen, what does this mean, what does networking mean, what are all these things. It's like it'll all make sense. This will give you hopefully a resource to say, you know what, I can make this, and it doesn't have to be the way that everyone else made it, because it never is. There is no one way, and you can find your own. So Broke, Frustrated, and Anxious, coming soon. I'm going to make a whole show about it. I swear I'm going to do it. I told you it's on the internet, so it's coming. All right. Next thing. I started talking about acting and all that junk. So if you know me, you know that I am an actor. That's what I went to school for. I got a BFA in musical theater, and don't I follow that stereotype? But there have been some machinations in the world regarding the business of art. And this is kind of what got me started on the book thing, but it's more for you to try to understand, or rather, I guess this is, nobody asked for this opinion, but there's two things that are happening that I saw in the news, and I want to talk about them, not so much to have an answer, but so that we can start a more depth of conversation about this, because there's some interesting points being brought up in the artistic landscape right now regarding acting specifically. First thing is SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, the union that protects all of film workers, is currently in a beef with equity. And I'll let you know right now, I am a member of SAG, a proud member of SAG, and I would also like to someday be part of equity, because I have friends who have worked on Broadway, I have friends who work on feature films, and I think they're all cool, and they all deserve to be paid appropriately and also be protected by the unions that they have. So here's my concern about this beef, or rather, here's some context for what's happened if you don't know already. SAG, traditionally a film medium union regarding all of the people who are producing or performing on screen, now I get most of my information from SAG, but I've tried to read about equity and from the stage managers who have been working on this problem. But there is a beef between equity and SAG about who controls live streamed performances of stage work. Very fair. Very fair. I think this is confusing. It's COVID. We're getting a lot more things like this. Streaming, producing things like Zoom Theater. I have a friend. The Shared Screen, you get a shout out for this. You doing Zoom Theater productions. I also know a lot of people in Chicago are doing that. I mean, New York is trying to do its thing. I'm doing musical readings all the time on Zoom. The question is, who can protect and who should protect people who are working on stage that's being filmed? And it's a great question. I hope more people have dive in and wonder why. What's the problem here? As far as I understand it, and you can jump in those comments and tell me I'm wrong, and I will pin it, and I will honestly, the next video we will talk about it more in depth, and I will do more research. But this is what I know, is that actors are being represented by SAG on these live streamed things. Think Hamilton on Apple TV. And SAG is claiming jurisdiction over these productions, which seems fine, right? They control streaming now, the new media stuff. They've traditionally done all film and recorded material. However, this is a new thing in the world, this live production stuff. This isn't NBC Live, like, doing musicals live. This is Hamilton recorded on the West End, and now they're posting it on whatever platform it is so that people can watch and enjoy that, and that's really, really cool. But there are some things being missed here. It would seem that SAG has the right of way, but then I learned that they aren't supporting stage managers, which has got equity in quite a spot here, because equity, the actors union, the stage actors union, and stage managers need negotiating power, right? In that sense, that stage managers are just as important as actors. I will come out and say that I love all my stage manager friends, and I feel for you if you've been affected by this, if you are getting shafted because SAG and equity are having a problem, like, that's tough. And I don't know the answer. I'm just here to get somebody to tell me what they think. But what it sounds to me like is SAG and equity are concerned with each other now. Like, this is truly a new jurisdiction, and there's a fight going on for who's going to be able to control it. I don't know who's right. I know that stage managers are losing out if SAG won't support them, and I also know that SAG has released a waiver that they deem is appropriate during COVID, considering how much money is being lost on stage work, that says, hey, equity can negotiate all of these live performances that are being recorded on behalf of stage managers and actors. But this concern that's coming out of this beef that's arising, this bubbling up, seems to be more about the fact that now that SAG has released this waiver and then it's been denied by equity, there is this assumption that equity will now be claiming a further stake in live recorded theater performances moving forward, which has SAG concerned to some degree because it feels like an infringement of their jurisdiction. Does everything make sense? I've said a lot of words, and now it feels confusing, and I don't want you to get into the details right now about go research it yourself. I only know this much, and I got concerned about it, and then I got a little ranty, and then I needed to talk about it with someone. But my concern is that SAG, equity, we are in COVID. SAG, you're getting more money. You are. I know there's not a lot of screen actors working, but there are more screen actors working than stage actors. And you've released this waiver, and that's good faith and whatnot. But we're still in COVID. It's going to get worse. Why aren't we working together more? And I get it. There's this farther down the line outlook you have to take. But my question to all of my actor friends, and all my stage manager friends, and all my producing friends, all the people who work in different worlds, I want to know what you're thinking. Because from this lowly little film actor who's produced his own stuff on stage and on film, what I'm seeing is a concern for jurisdiction over a concern of people's health. And this is kind of a disturbing pattern that I've seen throughout our American response to pandemic, is we're getting screwed, and then we're scared of each other for screwing us more, when we have the power to work together and come to a conclusion that doesn't screw us that much. But again, I'm not sitting in the seat. I'm not Gabrielle, the head of SAG. I'm not sitting there being having to make all these decisions. I don't know what's happening out there. But what I want to know is, if you're a SAG actor or if you're an equity stage manager, what do you want? Because I want my friends to work, and if the only way they can work is through live recorded things, then either SAG, you need to okay, now I'm prescribing. But maybe there's an answer where SAG gets to get to represent stage managers on film. And maybe there's a more depth of waiver or depth of agreement that can be made with stage managers that work on film through an equity SAG relationship. Or maybe we need to work on a third avenue. I don't have the answer. What I'm saying is, why are we fighting and undercutting each other when we could be coming with a solution? You're creatives, right? You're artists, and you have already seen the travesty that has been the death and pandemic. Why are you concerned about keeping your purse so tight to your chest? You're artists. You champion communal and good virtue, and I want more. I do. I want more from the people who are in leadership. And this is not just an acting thing. This isn't just a union thing. This is everybody. I want us to care about each other more. And if we can find a way that helps each other rather than trying to protect our own, maybe we can protect each other and claim our own as a larger group. Maybe, just maybe, things like the COVID pandemic wouldn't hurt so much. That being said, I'm off that. I have another concern about theaters, and we're going to get to it. I just need to calm down a little bit. I'm getting worked up. So let me find anything on my list of things to talk about, because now I'm going to get upset. I came up with a new joke. I write a joke a day, and that is, where do ghosts like to visit most? Spokane, Washington. There you go. There's your joke for the day. I am a comedian. They pay me no dollars, and I'm that funny. So, what would it be like if you donated to my Patreon? Perhaps it would get better. Or more is the same if you like that. Check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Zach John Holden. That's take the H out of John, put it in Zach, ZachJonHolden. Or check out my website, zachholden.com, where you can see more about the stuff I do and possibly links to interesting things that interest you. Did I rhyme that on purpose? Okay, back to the things that I'm upset about. So, there's another thing I read in the Broadway Briefing. Check out to you. Love you, Broadway Briefing. And that is, everyone's like really engaged in the jokes. They don't want to hear about all the political commentary. That's fine, I guess. As long as you're sticking around, I guess. Here's the thing. I read this in Broadway Briefing, and it's about the theaters, like the Players Theater, among others. That's just the one that I know because I've been there, and I love you. Thank you for doing that show that I was in. Good Morning, New York. However, people are suing the state, I believe it's the governor, regarding not being able to open their doors. Oh, gosh, you want me to sing a song. What can I plug in to do a song? I will do a song, and then we'll talk about why I'm upset with other people. 1 second. I need to get my thing hooked up here. La 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 la. Okay, hope that didn't hurt your ears. It hurt mine. What am I going to talk about? What am I going to sing? What do you want to hear? Do you have things that you want to hear? Hold your ears. Okay, how does this sound? Oh gosh, I think. What shall I sing for you? I'm trying to do something I didn't do at my concert yesterday, and there's only so many guitar songs I know. I will perhaps sing you a song that goes like this. I will sing the Yellow Bus song. Oh gosh, how does that go? Well, you know what? I'm just gonna, if I can remember. I was coming home on a yellow bus, right? On a yellow bus, bus broke down and stranded us. I was coming home on a yellow bus, but the bus broke down and stranded us. It was a long, 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 long way home. Okay, so this is a sing-along song by, is it Harry Chapin, Tom Chapin? One of the brothers there. You can look it up. But this is the Yellow Bus song, and we sing this at camp, at the summer camp that my dad runs, and it goes like this. I was coming home on a yellow bus. Bus broke down and stranded us. Yeah, I was coming home on a yellow bus. The bus broke down and stranded us. It was a long, 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 long way home. I'm trying to remember this. I haven't learned in a while. So I found a boat by the river bank, and I hit a rock, and I promptly sank. Yeah, I found a boat by the river bank, but I hit a rock and I promptly sank. It was a long, 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 long way home. So I got picked up by a submarine. Then they threw me out in the Philippines. Yeah, I got picked up by a submarine, but they threw me out in the Philippines. I don't know these chords. It was a long, 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 long way home. I also skipped a train. There's a part with a caboose and it came loose, so. So I hopped a jet, but I couldn't pay. So they threw me out of the cargo bay. Yeah, I hopped a jet, but I couldn't pay. So they threw me out of the cargo bay. It was a long, 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 long way home. But my parachute kept me safe from harm, and I landed in a tree in my neighbor's farm. Yeah, my parachute kept me safe from harm, and I landed in a tree on my neighbor's farm. It was a long, 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 long way home. It's a long way home. But I found a horse, and she threw a shoe. Whoops. So I had to walk back home to you. Yeah, I found a horse, but she threw a shoe, and I had to walk back home to you. It was a long, 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 long way home. So I'm sorry, Mom, that I'm home so late, that the dinner's cold, and I made you wait. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mom, that I'm home so late, and the dinner's cold, and I made you wait. But it's a long, 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 long way home. That is a long way home. Tom Chapin, I believe, is correct. And anytime you're late, you can sing that song. I'm not late often, but when I am, I do like to waste 3 more minutes telling people how I got there. All right. So I've sung you a song, which I think has bought me enough time to tell you why I'm concerned about the people suing to keep theaters open. And the answer is these are small theaters, and it concerns me that the idea that I mean, in the news article I read in the Broadway briefing, people were concerned about property rights and their liberty being infringed because they couldn't have theater in these small spaces, but bars have been opening in bowling alleys, and you know what? It's tough. It's tough because, again, actor friends, I want to know what you feel about this. It concerns me only because, one, I feel like there's an opportunity for community engagement, for unity, and we're starting to turn on ourselves. It really feels that way to me. I'm looking at theaters who want to have these one-man shows, and they put in the new HVAC systems, and they're going to social distance, and it's like, yeah, great. I want live shows too. That's great. I would love for those theaters to be open. I'm upset that the bars and the bowling alleys are open, but my question is, why are we trying to get back into a dangerous space instead of asking others to back up, or asking our leaders to take a stronger stance and say, you know what, We can't have these things open. I know that we can't have revenue without these things being open, so let's be more consistent about the subsidies that we can provide and possibly help people invest in more virtual ways to get this work done. I'm upset about actors in the theater specifically because there have been so many Zoom things happening, so many online things, so many Skype like theater things. There's so much streaming opportunity, and this is a whole world that people want to engage in. And it almost feels like there's a resistance from theater to engage with it. There's a resistance to invest in it, and it leaves us with people who are out of work. And I want people to work. I really, really do. And I'm just concerned that when we turn on each other, we say, hey, I'm going to open up the theaters and I don't care what you think. If you can let bars be open, then we can let theater people sit in safe rooms. It's like, how safe is that room, really? If you think bars aren't safe, then I don't think a theater's safe either. And maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just some dumb guy's opinion. But I feel like this is an opportunity for us to say, hey, there's a community of theater goers who are really missing theater. And it's some place that we feel could be safer than bars and bowling alleys. I'm saying that because it was written specifically in a quote. And you can check me on it, and I will totally accept it. Thank you, the internet, for calling me out. But ultimately, this could be a moment where we could say, hey, let's come together, make something cool, different, interesting that still pays the bills, and we can also ask our community to invest in us, right? And our community by the sense of both individuals within the community, but also our leadership and the people who are moving around your tax dollars. That ask them to make that work for you instead of letting them work for someone who isn't following the rules that you know you're following. I mean, it's a different tactic, and maybe it's wrong. I mean, you need to work, and that's cool. I need to work too, and if you're open and safe, then I'll make my decision then. But it's just something to consider. Are we choosing the routes that create community and unity, or are we deciding to turn against each other? Because these decisions matter, and they happen all the time, and the less we choose unity, the more we get the situation we're in. Which, I mean, have you voted? I bet you have. Many people have. And you've decided between ignorance and hate, or what is I wrote this down. I could get this better. Have you chosen between a selfish narrative or an ignorant narrative, right? That's what you're getting. And I let you decide which candidate is the ignorant or the selfish one. But ultimately, we could be doing better for each other. And we've seen it time and time again. We've been given opportunities as individuals to do better and then build the communities that we want. And we haven't mobilized. We haven't spoken to one another. We've allowed these big, shiny, glistening like positions of leadership and power to do the work for us. And that is how it should work, right? Like it feels like in a democracy, the people from the local government all the way to the top should be doing what is best for the people that they come from. And if it's not happening, maybe, just maybe, the fault is on both sides. Perhaps we can be better advocates for ourselves, and we can ask more of the people that we elect. Because ultimately, the health of a democracy is reflected in the will of the people. And take that as you will. But I'm saying choose unity over division. Every time. That's a broad statement. But I really do feel that. Okay. I've gotten off my soapbox once again, and maybe I'll sing another song for you. I know you. Oh, man. Gosh. I just came here to rant. Why did you even watch? Let me find some jokes. I'm just going to test jokes on you now. I'd rather be sailing, yes I would. Hey, here's something to think about, by the way. What is this myth that Zoom meetings are bad? Like your work is now remote. There's a trope that like I'd see in ads and now like general comedy of being like, working online is a bummer. It's like, no, it is not. We're doing this online right now, but I really want you to think about every time you're on a Zoom call, how many times do you actually have to be wearing any clothes? Or how many times do you even have to have your mic on? Like, how many times can you be totally checked out doing whatever you want instead of having to pretend to be paying attention in a meeting that you don't care about? You can actually just be not caring, which is so much better. It's just my little concern with people who are saying that Zoom meetings aren't great. I don't buy it. The internet is cooler than you think. It's not as bad as people say. Of course, there are bad things on the internet. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're watching some right now. But man, thank you for being here. I know it's Halloweekend and you could be doing literally anything else, but you've come to hang out with me, a very angry, mostly straight white man, which can't possibly be an interesting thing at this point. But maybe it can be. So there's a little blues for you, just because that's now I'm feeling melancholy. But we should be having a good time, you know? I mean, it's quarantine, but we can do it. I mean, who's carving pumpkins this weekend? I am. There's so much to be grateful for, right? I mean, still. And thinking about Halloween, like, if you really want to take it as not just this opulent, like, candy eating time, you can come together just like Thanksgiving here, really, and be like, let's give thanks and let's remember the dead. And this may be even a more meaningful Halloween than ever before, because we finally have so much to contend with, like so much darkness in the world, and the veil will slowly be lifted in a way that you can possibly commune with the mistakes of your past and say, it's okay. Like, give yourself a little bit of relief, right? I'm not saying that your work's over, and I'm not saying the struggle gets better, but I am wondering if you take time to be all right, maybe it does get easier. I don't understand that quote, it doesn't get easier, but it does get better. I saw it on a BoJack Horseman episode once. I think it does get better, but I think if we work together, it really can get easier. I mean, I'm slowly inundating you with things that I care about, and maybe you're on my side, maybe you're not. But I want to give you the space and time to figure out what you need to figure out, and that's why we're really here, is to make art that people can digest and roll around with and try to figure out where they stand in the world, to get a perspective that can maybe make some differences. That's all I'm asking really with this is we're going to hang out and we're going to talk, and we're wrapping it up here. I mean, there's not much left in my hour of this chill out hour, but I want you to take away at least something meaningful out of this. Here's my pitch, right? The stuff that I do, it's all about joy, knowledge, and relief. And if you're not getting that, please tell me. Because if I can make you laugh, that's great. That makes life a little easier one day. If I can give you a piece of knowledge that says, now I have a little bit more courage to confront the struggles that I have, and then I can learn a little bit more about the world, that's awesome too. And if you can get some relief from that knowledge, if you can get some relief from the laughs that we can have together and the discussions that I'm having with myself, but hopefully with you, maybe it's all worth it, right? Maybe. All right, another joke here. So recently I was at a hotel. I moved back to New York very, very recently, and I was very safe. Don't worry, everything's all right. Tested, all good. But I was laying in bed, and the person knocked on the door, and they said housekeeping. I was like, come back later. But then I realized that if you wanted to be a peeping Tom, what an amazing opportunity. If you could just like me, if I just go to a country where I don't know the language, I just want to clean stuff, I show up, I say housekeeping, and then I just walk in. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know the language. I didn't know you were in here. Just, I guess, food for thought with those. Not every joke's a winner. Let's see. I'm just looking at old jokes now. I do this to my partner, and she loves it. Did you know that NYC spent $2 million on deer vasectomies in Staten Island last year, or like over the last couple of years? Did anyone know this? That there are so many deer in Staten Island that they decided it was more fiscally responsible to just do like kidnap stags and give them vasectomies and then just let them run free. What are we doing with our money? We gotta know. Who makes the budgets? I mean, it seems fairly humane, honestly, but yeah, okay. No more jokes. Just a final call to say, one, thank you very much. Thank you very much for tuning in. You are all very awesome and very supportive, and I know you're the 4 people that watched my original sessions live yesterday. I will be doing way more of this, so you can check me out on Facebook or Instagram at Zach John Holden, ZachJohnHolden. That is linked in my profile on YouTube, and you can check out my website for more information on stuff that's coming out soon. And okay, spooky vibes. All right, spooky vibes. You want spooky vibes. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope that you have some great reading to do, either Wicca for Beginners by Thea Sabin, or possibly All About Love and New Vision by Bell Hooks. You should really jump in. I got lots of other books on this thing that we're going to talk about, and I will always start the Hangouts with a new book. Righteous Mind, The Truth. Oh, just so much fun to be had. But until next time, I am Zach Holden, and be good. Choose unity. And bye.